So this is my 1985 HJ75, and in the last episode we got it to run. We buffed on the paint a little, fitted some new shackles and some 35-inch tyres, and we did get it to drive right at the end of the last episode. But there's still a lot more to go on this one. We're going to pick up on all those loose ends that you have with your project, starting with poor steering. It handles like a barge in a rip. And when I say it handles like a barge in a rip, I ain't kidding. That's almost a full quarter turn and nothing's happening. She's all over the shop. Oh, and we've got an interior for this one too. I've actually spent some money. We've got new carpet to go in, we've got new door trims to go in. We're going to do with all the little shit that you deal with your projects. And so the way we're going to figure out what's going on under here is I'm going to get my #1 helper just to get in there and just do exactly that with the steering wheel. Just left to right softly, and then bounce it to the left, bounce it to the right, and just see exactly how far the movement is getting before we're losing all movement, because nothing is getting transferred to these guys at all. 35 probably don't help, but if we can get all this sorted out, it will drive a lot better irrespective of what wheels are on it. That's got to go. That's really bad. Okay, slowly left to right, and look at that guy. There is nothing going on there. You can see that is just completely flogged out. Okay, so hold him to the right and just bounce him. And to the left. So nothing's even getting to the tie rod. So we're gonna have to start with this guy. We'll get him in and get that guy sorted, and then see what else we've got. We've got some tie rods to do. That boot there is not that great, so maybe we'll do that one anyway. Oh, look at this one. So go again, just left to right. Oh, that one's just as bad, look. And after the last video, after driving that, it wasn't hard to find that. It just did exactly that. You could barely keep it on the road. So I've already ordered basically a full kit, and we'll just see what we need. We'll probably end up doing it all, but I've got those two guys. I think I've called them ball joints a second ago. They're not. They're like tie rod ends. And that's them. So we'll stop talking, we'll get in the shed, and we'll get it to handle better. Nope, we won't. I forgot one of the other ones. In the last episode when we first started it, it kept shutting down. I'm like, why is it shutting down? Just like that. Why did it just shut off? And again, halfway through that episode, we were driving it, and I noticed the oil pressure was quite low. The penny dropped. It's actually doing what it's designed to do. These guys have a low oil pressure cutout. Well, that's what was happening. It was doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But why has it got low oil pressure? Well, I'll show you. Firstly, I'll show you what I'm talking about with the low oil pressure. So all our preheat and everything's working great. And if this guy, if you drive it every day, you don't notice it. But if you, come on, preheat. If you don't drive it for a week, watch the oil pressure there. Nothing, 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 and shut down about now. Go again. Wait for it. Will it shut down? Now there it goes. And it'll keep running. And that's what's happening there. Is, as I say, there's a safety cutout switch for low oil pressure. But why is it doing that? Well, I can explain that too. So what it's actually doing there is these guys have got a pressure relief valve. The oil pumps on these are capable of, I think, almost 100 psi, and they've got a little piston like this in the pressure relief valve. But after sitting for a long time, or after a lot of Ks, which this hasn't done a lot, but it did sit for a long time, sometimes that little piston can actually stick or partially stick open. It starts to groove a little groove, starts to wear a little groove in its bore, and it can actually stick, or sitting with old oil, which that one probably did. Now the way around that is that guy. It's a longer piston. It actually goes past that little groove that it's worn into the newer section of bore, and that'll actually free the piston up. The other thing you can do is a heavier spring. Now I've got all them because they're not expensive. I think the factory guy was the most expensive at about 50 something dollars, but that was only about 25 bucks. It wasn't dear at all. So I grabbed everything because I don't know what we're going to find. But there's two symptoms, okay? First one is what we're seeing, is where it's partially closed, or partially open I should say, and it's bleeding oil pressure away after sitting for say a week. So when you start, it takes a while to build up oil pressure. The other symptom you see is if they stick closed, you'll get really good oil pressure. So you won't notice on the startup, but if you drive away cold, give it a few revs, it can build that much oil pressure, it can blow the oil filter apart. The oil cutout will still catch it and shut the engine down, but it's a bit different doing, I don't know, 700 revs at idle, or going down the road at 2000 RPM, it's in gear and it shuts down and still runs on, unless you dump the clutch in quickly. But either one, long term, there's no future in it. All right, so that's what we're going to address first. I'll get him in the shed, get some cardboard down because it's going to get messy, and get that valve replaced. The reason I say this could be terribly messy is sometimes, and I haven't done one of these before, I've only read about it. Sometimes the only way to get that piston out, if it is stuck a little bit, is literally remove the lid, or the plug, remove the spring, and just hit the key and let the oil pressure blow it out. That could get messy. So we'll see where we end up. It might not be as stuck as I think, but let's get into it. So if you missed the last episode, this is a 2H diesel, a 4 litre. That's the housing where we're going to undo that nut / plug, and we're going to find him in there. Well, I hope that is. But as I said, I've only read about it, haven't done it, so we'll wing this one. Well, we're in the right spot because there's a spring. Had my doubts, and there has to be, I'm just trying to get my finger in the end of it there, but there has to be different models, and that is completely different. That is totally different. What I was going to say is there must be different models on the 2H, because I'm sure the one I read about, it was up the front there somewhere, and it went in horizontally. Not like that, but that's completely different. And that is nothing like it. It's the same length. Spring's completely different. Absolutely nothing like it. So there's got to be a different model. That's why I wasn't feeling very familiar, although I just read through everything. So that's a good start. But I think what I'm reading is right in the fact that this is a fairly late 2H. This is the newer model, the HJ75, or the 2H was predominantly in the FJ75, no power steering. And that's what is in the way of where it's telling me the valve should be. Oil pump, valve at the bottom, in horizontally, but the power steering pump's there. So that would make sense. Move it back to the oil filter housing where we found it, nice and easy to get at, but it's totally different. Not a big deal though, because I can put it back together, fix everything else, and just research. I wonder if I look up, the next model motor was a 1HZ. I wonder if the 1HZ oil filter housing is similar and they have the same relief valve. Anyway, I'll put it back together, worry about that later, get the right parts ordered tonight, and we'll get into this steering. Got enough time wasted with that. Let's get that back in and get into this steering. I did Google the 1HZ pump, 1HZ oil filter housing and the pressure relief valve on a 1HZ, which is the model after this guy that started about 1990. It's in the oil filter housing. So this is obviously changed when the power steering came in, moved it to the oil filter housing, and the 1HZ valve looks completely different as well. So I might have to do some more research on that, but for now it's not really an issue. It's only an issue if I don't run it for a week and then try and cold start it. So we'll just get it on the road and worry about it then. To a certain degree this one's pointless marking it because it's so flogged out, but I figure if I mark the amount of threads I can put the new one in roughly in the same spot, and it should at least be good enough to get us to the wheel alignment shop, because that wouldn't have changed since it's flogged that out. So that's its pre-flogged out position. So we'll knock that guy out. It's undo this fella, undo this pitman arm or the steering arm, and then back that nut there off and thread this guy out. Sometimes you get lucky and they're that warm that they just fall out, but not the case today. So we'll probably have to put a puller on that just so we don't damage this pitman arm. This guy next, I'll knock the split pins out of the back of him. I was just going to undo that, look. So bad. Whatever. Sometimes you get lucky. And other times you don't. I don't want to bash at that because there's nothing supporting that whole rod from moving. Sometimes you give them one little tap and it'll pop out. I just sort of try it, but I'll throw in a puller like that and we'll see if we can't just push him out. Change of plan, I'm going for the pitman arm first because I can't get, well, I can get the tool in there, but I can't get anything onto here. So if I go this one first and pop him out like so, that whole arm will come down and then I'll be able to get to that one. You know how I said sometimes you get lucky? I literally turned that twice, didn't even put any pressure on it. That's so flogged out. And that'd be because it's so flogged out, there's that much movement. Anyway, I'll drop that one down, get to that one. Yeah, I can see this is going to be one of those episodes where I burn myself on absolutely everything. That pitman arm and nut is pretty warm. So don't touch it, you dickhead. Oh. Yep, really warm. But now I can at least get onto this guy. Probably can't see a damn thing I'm doing there, but still hot. Good way to tell if it's still hot is touch it, dickhead. See if this one will pop. You'll see that gap there disappear. Make sure you put your fingers in really strange spots so you can get them. There you go. Actually saw it close up. So now we can just move that back, undo that nut, and we're done. It doesn't matter what sort of vehicle you got either, whether it's an old Holden or Ford or Toyota, whichever. All the principles are going to be the same, and these things are going to be similar. Of course, they're going to vary in their shape or their size or whichever, but it's the same technique to get them apart. Just heat them up, you know, burn yourself on everything. They're pretty good little tools, those fellas. You can just do everything nice and slow, so you're not dealing with a ton of stored energy ready to release and take fingers and shit off. But I got lucky on those two, they come apart really easy. Yep, so that's gonna pop off. I'll need to keep those nuts so I don't lose them, because, oh well, that one I'm not keeping obviously. God damn, look at that. Is that white handled like a barge in a rip? I've still got that one to go, so imagine how much tighter it's going to be. So much better. Alright, I need, oh no, I was going to say I need 2 hands to get that out. Back this one off there, and this guy screws out, just unscrews, so I'll just put an extension or something in there and use it as a lever. So if you just jam him up something like that, and you should be able to just screw it out. Oh, see, there's a tricky one. You've got to be careful, because some of them will be left-hand thread. Like one side will be left-hand thread, one side will be right-hand thread. This is obviously the left-hand thread. The reason they do that is because, just say you're getting a wheel alignment, if they were both right-hand thread and you turn that, all it would do is shift one way or the other. If one's left-hand thread, one's right-hand thread, as you're turning that bar to adjust your wheel alignment, they're both coming together or they're both moving apart, because they're screwing in opposite directions, if that makes sense. Doesn't make sense? See, that's, here's how I'll probably explain it better. To loosen a nut, you would turn it anti-clockwise, wouldn't you? But I'm turning that clockwise and it's coming undone. Look at my pink mark. So this end is the left-hand thread. I don't know, is there a rule of which, you Toyota guys, or just in general, is there a rule in the industry of which side should be left-hand thread? Don't suppose it matters. Righto, let's stop talking and get that bit in. Here's why I say mark it. It makes no difference really if you're getting a wheel alignment, but look at the difference in length of that. At least now I can put a little mark roughly where the thread was. Doesn't make any difference, I can just screw it in further, but just gives you a better idea, so you're not getting it out. There's no mark there and going, hang on, wait, what? I'm glad they put 8 miles of thread on it. I think I'm out of thread. Oh, you stupid prick. Good one, aftermarket. Make it 4 inches longer. Am I going to cut it off? I think I am. Yeah, that's bottomed out hard. Alright, back out we go. Cut him off. I don't like cutting new threads because sometimes they're very, very difficult to cut it cleanly and actually get them to start again, but we'll have a go. So I guess that sums up one of the reasons I like marking it. Because if I'd have just been screwing that in, and I know I'm dwelling on the negative of it, but if I'd have just screwed that in, went, oh, I'm out of thread, bang it all back together, your wheels are going to be like that. Because it's literally, how far is that? 20 mil. It's 20 mil longer. So it means your wheels are going to be like that. And you could very well run out of adjustment to bring that wheel in. So anyway. Cut him off and hope for the best. So if you're chopping a thread off, I don't know if you can see it, but I tend to put a little chamfer on the edge, and what I mean by that is just hold your angle grinder at an angle and just turn it around, just so your thread wants to grab, and don't forget you're dealing with left-hand thread. So, oh, look at that. Look at that. See, now we're a machine shop as well. Not even close. Righto, so that's one new tie rod in. I can tell you that had basically no pressure whatsoever, so that'll be the next thing on the agenda. However, for now it'll be fine. it's basically the same on the other side. I'll see when I do that one. So I decided to do, I'll do the ball joints as well. I figure I'm here, I've got them, I may as well knock them out. But the thing that's eating away at me is that oil pressure valve. I know, in actual fact, I just checked because it ate away at me that bad. I just looked at the invoice and it says those parts are for 2H up to 1990. So although there is a power steering pump in the way up there, I went looking again and check this out. So I went looking again and see if you can see this. That's the power steering pump there. That's the power steering pump mount or bolt, bracket bolt. There it is there. To me that looks like a 22mm nut. If that is it, I'll remove this plate and have a better look later, but I think that's it there. I just can't get to it to see properly. It looks like a much bigger nut than that mount. Anyway, maybe it's not over yet. Anyhow, if that is it, which it does look like it is, it's just in a really horrendous spot to get to, then I guess it ain't over yet. We can still get that one. I'll just get these done, drop that bash plate and have another look, but it looks like, initially you look at it and think it's part of the mounting bracket bolt, but I think it's bigger, but you can't get your head in there to see if it's a bigger diameter nut. Anyway, stop talking, get this done. I'll do both ball joints, the other tie rod, and then we'll get that off. Maybe do some shocks too. I've got shocks as well. Had to be one stubborn one. Oh, there he goes. And that was just to put a heap of pressure on him, just give him an ever so slight tap on the head, just on there. It's just enough to jar him loose. Remember I said about one lefty loosey? Well, this is lefty loosey, the other one was righty loosey. Left hand thread and right hand thread. And there's a little bit of goodness that wants to come out into that rod. I'd say moisture's getting in through that, see that split there that goes up. Wonder how good that thread is up there. Not very. So that's fine. So this isn't great. I think it's fairly bent and it's about there. So I'm going to have a little go at maybe just straighten it out. I'm going to widen these out, put these guys right out as far as they go, and put the die roughly there. So I'll just mark that. Somewhere there, right, is the most bent point. So I'm going to stuff it there and just see if I can't make it a little better. The press was useless. It wouldn't apply any pressure. It must have a blown seal. So I'm just going to run over it with the Bobcat. Not perfect, but it's better than it was. So that's All of those guys done up. I haven't greased them yet. I just remembered that as I started. And I just marked them with pink as I tighten them. Some of these guys have got to come undone again for wheel aligning and whichever. But while I'm under here, I may as well knock the shocks out. I've got some reasonably priced, and by that I mean really cheap, shocks for the front. We'll get them out, then we'll worry about that bash plate. These must have been some pretty expensive shocks back at the day, because look, they're adjustable. Regular, firm, extra firm. Probably better than what I'm putting on here, but anyway, they're old, so I'm assuming they're not great. And if they're better than what I put on here, then I'll just put them back in. They just got a little flat tab at the top of the shock, so you can hold the shock shaft from twisting and then get your spanner on. But the thread is very dirty. I'm going to go back the other way, let all the rust fall out of that thread. If nothing else, it'd be nice to get new rubbers in the top of them there. They're pretty shot. Oh geez, that's binding up really bad on rust. Like really bad. Like I don't want it to anymore. I mean, nope, they're buggered. Completely buggered. You never know how old they are though. They did the job, they got it to run and drive, and now they're gone. I can't get it off, so it could stay there. Oh, longer. Just so that grit doesn't destroy your new rubbers, clean it up as best you can. It's a good idea to, once you've got it a bit clean, wipe a bit of grease around it, so if there is any little gritty bits, they don't, you know, catch and tear the rubber. Doesn't feel too bad. I did just put a tiny dab of grease on these guys as well. I don't know if it's the right thing to do, I've just always done it. My theory is it just stops that creaking and groaning sometimes you get with new bushes. Stops them grabbing so you can still settle in as well. Done. Other side. Oh, jeez. I just about fell off. That one's even worse. Oh, made the right decision. Let's get that greased up, get that on, and get that bash plate off. You're probably starting to get the idea when I don't normally do shocks unless I'm lowering or something like that. And we did raise this a little bit with those shackles, but it drove so bad, I was willing to bet that those shocks were buggered and everything else is buggered too. I put them on the wrong way. Damn it. I put the other side on wrong. I've got to go back and do that, redo that. Too busy talking. I missed that bit on the other side. Don't know how, but I did. I gotta find it. I didn't see it. Maybe that's how I missed it. And I did remember to grease those guys while I had the gun out. So they're done. So we are all but done with the front. suspension for now. Shackles were done last episode. Steering's getting done. Shocks are getting done. Oh, it's just about new. And all I did wrong was, see, there's two different styles of washer. There's that style of washer, and then there's that style of washer. So I guess that one's your top hat and it's probably your bottom hat, but that one that I just dropped there, he goes there. Well, I had that one that way. I don't know why. Just not thinking. Done now. Oh, that's undoing it. If you're ever buying shocks and stuff like that, and sometimes you find you got little bits of hardware left over, don't stress out too hard, because, and I'll see if I can actually explain this. See where that shock went on, I wire wheeled it. It's like a dick or a shaft, or doesn't matter what you call it, it's going to be a sexual reference made to it, and it's got a thread in the other end. That's to stop that rubber compressing too hard. So that bolt will bottom out on that shaft, dick, whatever you want to call it. I'd say that shock fits other models that'll have a threaded section and a bolt, and then you insert that into the rubber so it can't crush that rubber down. So moral of that story, just don't stress if you've got little bits left over. You probably haven't done anything wrong like I did there. It's probably for different, they're probably a universal shock that'll fit every Landcruiser from when Jesus used to drive them until yesterday. Yeah. So knocking this bash plate off, all I can see is two on your side there. If you want to get them, and I'll get these. Down she comes. I expected more violence as it came out there. There's a little bit. So now with the bash plate off, I'm not feeling so bad about my poor decisions, because I was looking at them going, well, no, they're the bracket for the power steering and the engine mount and all the rest of it, but you've got to come down lower. See here, so there's the bolt holes I could see with the power steering pump, which I think I found the leak. There it is there. So it's not going to be easy to get at, but I can get at it. What's that crap? So I'll knock that one off, see if we can't sort out this oil pressure. Yeah, I got it, but it's just stupid hard to get to. I kind of did like my theory that it could have been moved back to that filter housing. That would have been sensible, and that's when I should have realised that wouldn't have happened. Made too much sense to be something that a manufacturer would do. I'm now looking at it wishing I did it without these there, because my arm's going up between them and getting, it would have been a little bit more accessible. Hindsight, Michael, hindsight, shut up. Get it out. There it goes. That's looking more like our little fella. Now, here's where it gets messy. They tell me there's an extraction tool, but that's non-power steering models. You can get at it that way. I'm literally going to have to jam a couple of rags up there and crank it and blow that plug out. So I've got an old flano and jammed it up beside the power steering pump, and if you crank it, it should pop that plug out into the flano, and then, you know, I don't know why I'm so worried about the oil down here. Did you not see the power steering pump? Anyway, I'll give it a crank, see if I can pop it out. Did a heap of oil come out? Maybe it didn't. There's no oil at all on that yet. Go again. If you see the plug come out, just sing out.
because I don't want to lose it. If I lose it and don't know I've lost it, I'll be like, I can't get it out. It's already over there under the car somewhere. That wasn't supposed to start. Oh, it's there. I can feel it now. It's moved. If I can get my pinky into it like I did that other... What was that other one then? Maybe a anti-drain back valve. Maybe it's a secondary one, because they used to blow the filter. Oh, this will come out easy if I actually give it time to... I didn't glow it, and I thought if I don't glow it, it'll wind long enough to blow it out, but it didn't, and it's still fired up because we had it going before. Stop gibbering, get it out. There it is. Well, it worked. Can't say that's the prettiest way of doing it, but it worked. Considering I just changed that oil, that is very black. Mind you, hadn't had an oil change in God knows how long, so I might give it a couple 100 Ks and go again, eh? The valve itself looks fine, but I guess you can't see the bore inside. So I'm going to use that extended one. So that's the stock filler coming out. That's the stock spring. That's the new spring. And then that is the new valve. If there is a ridge at the back where this one has been riding, that one extends past it, so it makes its own, you know, it finds a clean part of the bore is my understanding. So I might just, oh, I reckon there's even a notable difference in the spring. Anyway, I'll put the new one in and that longer plunger, piston, whatever you want to call it, and we'll get this done. So that took a bit of getting in there because you had to sort of push the spring with that nut. You had to push the spring in. The spring was hanging out. So it took a bit of force, and then you didn't have a lot of room to try and twist it, but it's in there now and it's done up. And I won't put the bash plate on because I might clean up here, but let's check our oil pressure. Well, that definitely got it quicker. No, it's pretty much the same, but that doesn't really surprise me. I want to see a hot running oil pressure improvement. And I also want to see it build oil pressure on cold start. Anyway, that's it for now. So I'll bang these wheels back on, and we may as well do the rear shocks while we're here. And that'll be pretty much, I don't know, drive quality sorted out a bit. All the front end's done, well, to the best I'm going to do it. Shocks. Go for a drive, see what it drives like. It'll drive a ton better. It couldn't drive any worse. It was horrendous. And then pressure clean that power steering pump, so maybe in the morning I can actually see where it's leaking, because right now you can't see anything. It's just crap everywhere. Righto, wheels on. There's not much different under here as far as the shocks go. The top one's the same as the bottom one, so they're actually probably a little bit simpler. Obviously I didn't wash under here after we drove it in the mud at the end of the last video though. We'll worry about that after. I wonder, no, they're right. I was wondering if I was going to have to jack up the diff. I got lucky there. I just assumed that was the same head. I didn't check. That would have been nice. Go to give it a rattle, round it off. There we go, shocks off. I'll get these new ones. I can't go any higher with the cruiser on this hoist because this shed wasn't designed for a hoist, so it really wouldn't help me up the front. But now that I know the diff isn't hanging on those shocks, I've taken those shocks off and the diff didn't drop any lower, I can actually give myself a bit more space. So we can actually get under here a bit better, and I'll clean those two pins up. Clean these two pins up. That's what I was saying before about the dick or the shaft or whatever you want to, sexual innuendo you want to throw at it. But clean that up, grease that, and we'll get them on. The reason I thought I might go a little higher too is I wouldn't mind just checking if they're greasable unis. And if they are, yes they are, we'll give the unis a bit of a grease. I did the shackles when we put them in last episode. Yeah, just check some greasable bits. Oh, remember what I was just saying about I thought the shocks would be hanging at their lowest point. They are. They actually, look, they're too short. So I'm actually going to have to go back down. So I'll mount the top, drop him, check my unis, and then drop him down to touch him back on the ground. So much for having a hoist. I could always get my trans jack and jack the middle of the diff, but I'll just drop it down. Just lube up the whatever you want to call it. I'll leave that one up to you. Especially in case this has been through a bit of water, I want to get a bit of grease into those unis. And she's taken it. Good on you, girl. Ooh. And look at the colour of the... Oh, that's not that bad, but it's pretty dark. That's the colour of the grease coming out of it. So pretty black, but I'd be more concerned if it was rusty maroon. So the wheel's back on the ground. I can now... Oh no! Goes inside the... Get that one outside. Do you reckon I can get it up and over? Yes, yes I do. Yeah. Righto. Righto, drive time. We've done enough, let's see what it drives like now. Already you can tell it steers better, but I tell you what I should have brought is a window winder. It's hot as hell in here. Maybe that's another thing we can get going. This thing's got aircon. Maybe I need to get that going. %1000 better. My tacho's stopped again. It was working at the end of the last video and then stopped, and she's pulled up again. Still got a little few electrical gremlins. That would be the 35 rubbing on the guard. Looks like we're going off-roading because we're not going to make that turn. Perfect, flawless. That already feels 10 times better. Bit of a late start this morning actually, and so probably the last thing I'll do this afternoon is the stamped wheels. I'm just going to get a wire wheel and sandpaper and start cleaning them up. I've got a bit of a plan with them. Don't get me wrong, the 35s are staying, but for Rego, and that's where we're headed with this one, I think I've got to go back to a standard rim. Don't think they're going to like the 35s, but anyway. Good day, although it was a late start. It drives a ton better. Wouldn't want to drive worse. But can't really test that oil pressure because, as I said, have to sit it for 5-7 days and then see if it builds quicker. But that's a really common thing and a really common fix. It just did my head in a little bit where I couldn't find it because of that power steering pump. But anyway, what's the other one? Anti-drain back valve, a secondary pressure relief so it doesn't blow the filter, because that's what they do if they stick. If that valve sticks closed, they will burst the filter. So maybe it's a secondary safety valve. Maybe it happened a few times and they went, hey, let's add that, because that housing where the pump, where the filter is, it does look like it's from the later model, the 1HZ motor. Anyway, in the morning before I get to the dirty stuff, we've got a little bit of rust to do. We might chuck the interior back in, so seats out, carpet in, door trims in, seats back in. And then at least on the inside, it'll feel like we could head for Rego, and we're kind of getting close. I can feel a few little things niggling at me there, but anyway, I'll see you in the morning. I'll do these wheels, but I'll see you in the morning. So this morning at some stage, we've got some rust down here that we've got to do. There. But before I get too grubby and covered in grinding and welding and crap, we might put an interior in this thing. Because if you remember, we did a floor pan and I chucked the seats back in to drive it, but the carpet never arrived. We've got door trims for it, so we might do that first. So seats out and we'll get some carpet going in. Bit easier coming out the second time. Here you go. Come on. Previous episode, we did put a floor pan in, and it's filthy from my boots, but we've got a little bit of prep to do. Move that speaker wire. A little bit I can do with the headliner as well. We'll give them a quick clean. Maybe put something over that. And then get stuck into it. And I'll just get some thinners on a rag to clean up around that. I'm actually going to try and find the plate that came off that and maybe just put it back. I don't know what the go if that was. Was it for repair or something? I don't know. Anyway, I'll clean that up. We'll run a vacuum through here, but I'm missing one plug there. I'll go back through my box of stuff I removed. That plug there and that plug there, and that's pretty much it. And that speaker wire, I think I'll just roll that up. We might get these speakers going again, because I'm not going to hack. Oh, actually no, we're not going to roll that up, because that's that end, and that's not attached to anything. So we can just do this. That fixes the speaker wire. It had massive speakers hacked into here, and that's why I got new door trims. I don't like it. I don't want it. I just want the factory trims. If I need a speaker, I can sit them behind the seats, but
let's face it, the old factory radio, I've got to get that working first before I worry about speakers. So find the drain plugs, a little bit of rust converter over the floor, and in with the carpet, I guess. Funny looking black, different colour. If the smell's anything to go off, that'll be good stuff, because that is nasty. 1 pack epoxy etch primer, sounds good to me. I'll give that about 8 seconds to dry and then throw the carpet on. Maybe if it sticks to it. Oh, I haven't done that. Do that. Okay, so I can't find that little aluminium panel that was there. It was just screwed on there. And anything that came out of this went into that trolley. Well, it's not there. So, I would say I'm just going to do exactly the same thing with some rusty steel. I'll clean it up, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm literally just going to make a patch panel for there and screw it on. I'm not going to weld it in or anything. That panel's completely removable as is, so we'll just do that. Not being in that trolley, I would say I've had aspirations of doing something much better. No, probably going to do something much worse. I've got to texture and mark where that crease is, bend it a couple of times and just get that done. Don't even know what it's for. So I cleaned off my little panel. It's now mint, and I'm just going to screw it in on the top section, and then I'm going to beat it down to contour a little bit better than what I've got it there, because we all know how high my standards are when it comes to this sort of garbage. They're extremely high. I will, once I get the contour right, I will go to the trouble. That moved, damn it. I will go to the trouble of painting that and sealing it. Put some sealant around underneath it, but for now I'm just going to bash that back in. I wish that didn't move, because that's made that terrible panel even more horrendous than it was going to be. Righto, back out, paint, silicone, carpet. It's going to look absolutely perfect when you can't see it under carpet. I don't actually want this to set hard, so I'm not going to use something like a urethane or anything. This will never harden completely, just in case somebody wants to pull it off and do it better. Whatever. That's sealing up like an absolute trooper. Beautiful. Not really, but like I said, it'll look perfect when the carpet's over it. And the carpet I bought's already marked out for shifters and handbrakes and all that. It's pretty good, although I thought I bought black. It looked black in the photo, but now that I go back and read it and it turned up, it's definitely dark grey. Anyway, we won't dwell on the colour, and I'll show you why later, but I'll cut them out and I'll get the shifters off. We'll get the knobs and the boots off these guys and get ready to slide him on in. I'll probably have to undo them as well, I think, because that where those cutouts were for the shifters. Yeah, right, that's going to be a bit of a job, but anyway, we'll do that. I actually wonder how far that overlaps. Oh no, look, they've got the cutouts. They're pretty good, really. They've got the cutouts everywhere. There, I've got that marked out.
just it's supposed to be black. So I'm just finishing up some seat belt holes and seat holes, but there's a lot of excess and I don't mind having it up the back there, but around here it's getting really sort of hard to push into the corner. So and the old soldering iron trick, if you've been here before, you know how to do that. Heat up your soldering iron, jam it through, it just cauterizes the hole. But everything wants to move every time I go to try and push everything in. So I'm going to get an old plate, and these are actually the shackles that came off this vehicle, so I'm going to use them as a temporary seat. No, I'm not, because they're too thick. I'm going to get something like them but heaps thinner. Will just the washer do? No, maybe. I'll say yes. I'm just going to put that carpet under that washer. I'm going to grab the very edge of it and stop it moving. So I was going to get way too clever really, but they're too thick. Never mind. I'll put that one around there. Well, that'll be okay. It's just going to hold the edge of the carpet. So that'll hold my carpet in place now, and I can just go around and manipulate it without it shifting across. Let's do that. Just saves you cutting along it and getting over there and going, oh, it's that far out from the hole. So, and I think while I try and manipulate the front in, I'll leave those screws in and maybe even jam a little clamp there, like just a builder's clamp. Just whack him on there, and then I'll cut in that back parcel tray a bit more later. I said parcel tray, it's not really a parcel tray, is it? Oh man, I just sat on my seam seal. It's just sealed my seam. I have to redo that, damn it. But it did, it sealed my seam up. I was halfway in and I thought those holes were off. That one is, that's off a mile. That lines up with that, that should be. Okay, we can deal with this. No, that's off a shit ton. Oh, that wasn't a cut line, that's a center line. Why would they have everything marked to cut in chalk and then mark a center line in that one? So now I've got to cut there for the handbrake. Later on I'll find the instructions and it will say center line, do not cut. So that's got to go a mile forward still. I'm just going to have to nibble out around them until I get them big enough and that can all settle down. Settle down! So that was excruciatingly time consuming, and I've gone around it with a brand new razor blade and just trimmed around. I didn't want to go too wide, and now I'll actually remove the carpet and put them back in, like they screw back in there, and I should be able to then pull the carpet down over the top and pull that edge through so that I'm not trying to, you know, stuff it in there and bolt it now. So carpet back out, screw that down, and then carpet over the top, and then lift that edge so the carpet falls on top of that metal bracket. The other thing here, I've used the manufacturer's trick and just gone around the edge with chalk, and then the two holes I've just marked with pink marker. So when I get it out, I'm not actually going to try and just burn two little holes. I'm actually going to cut out a section around that, not going outside the chalk, of course. And that should just make it easier for me to get those ones back in. And I would say a good portion of my day is going to be sitting here just cleaning stuff as it goes back in. The seatbelt posts, like the scuff plates, like they're covered in shit. I'll get all these cleaned up, slowly go back together. Almost. little bit off here and we're done. Well, that's about as good as I can get that. So with the shifter working out okay, the carpet's in, the seats are back in. I've got the kick trims to go on there yet, and a little bit of paint on the other side here, just there, so I won't put that scuff trim or kick trim or whatever you want to call it, I won't put that in yet. But all in all, we can get onto the door trims. I've got some new handles, because these ones are all, clips are all busted off the back of it. And I'll just fish oil inside those doors, but they were really good from memory. And like I said, I won't worry about the speaker wires or anything. We'll worry about them in the dash if we want to do them later. But now, for now, it's new handles, new trims. Let's, get more done. I'm running out of time. Get a go at these, we are. I ordered these as new old stock pair of door handles. I didn't get a choice in colour. It was tan or nothing. So there's one. There's the other. It's not going to matter though, there's that many colours inside this thing. On the road is going to be better than nothing. Oh, I thought I was missing a clip then. No, all good. Righto, let's stop whinging about colour and get these in. Okay, this colour thing's getting weird. So they're the factory door trims. That's what came out of the car. That's pretty much the same colour. There's the colour handle that turned up, but let's not forget it's different to that one. These are the factory parts that I just pulled out of the door trims bag. So that was the trim, that was the door handle, and that's kind of brown. So that's, what the, maybe they've broke after years of use and they got different ones, or they did, or both of them did, or something. But this, I tell you what, lucky I'm shallow. Kind of glad I'm as shallow as shit when it comes to different colours and things through it. I could not give a tinker's. My goal here was Red Joe on Monday, not a beauty pageant, because she ain't winning that. Oh no, she ain't winning beauty pageants. Never mind, it'll be running. Well, it's got more colours than throwing up a pizza, but at least it's back in one piece. The kick trim's in, the scuffs on, the door panels in. I do need another one of these fellas, but all that sort of stuff I can figure around with later. The only thing I haven't done is on that side. It's that panel that I said I wanted to do a variant of yellow. I don't care what sort of yellow, I just want that to blend in a little better. And that's probably where we'll head next, is with paintwork and that rust. So that rust, bit of paintwork there. And of course these guys, that's what I was wire wheeling yesterday. I got all the heavy surface rust off them. But now I've got to go back and just sand. They had a lot of surface rust around the bead, so I've sort of really got that off with a heavy wheel. Sand these down, make them a variant of grey, something like what's on them there now, but we'll get to that yellow. So far so good, it's coming back together. Oh, and the hood liner, I forgot about that. Yeah, righto, let's keep going. That's the inside of the door done. Just a little bit of yellow blown across there. It's not perfect, but it'll do. When I originally got the colour mixed up, it was absolutely nothing like it. And I'll show you what it looked like against the door. And that's what it turned out. That's how much I had to change it. The colour was absolutely horrendous. It was nothing like it. So I just grabbed some old red, which I think I had from the F100, I think, when we were trying to make brown to make the rust colour on the F100. Some white from the XE wagon or something like that. Anyway, and just added a couple of colours, tried to wash it out, and you can see the difference. Absolutely nothing like it. That was potentially the worst colour I've ever had mixed up ever. Anyway, quit whinging. But that's done. Oh, and while I had the white XE paint out, I just started adding some black to make some grey for these wheels. And I like how they've come up. Again, I sort of had to rush through that job. I'm running out of time, so I just whizzed them down with the wire wheel and then quickly threw some acrylic grey on it, but they look pretty good. I've actually never been so excited about a stock wheel, and they're a little bit wider tyre. They're a 235, I was going to say 75, they're actually a 235 85 16, so they've got a fair height to them. I just wanted something a little bit wider than the stock cheese cutter. I've never been so excited about a stock wheel ever. I think I just like the factory look of them. The old farm cruiser. I like that. And let me explain the stock rims a little bit. And you guys overseas probably won't get your head around this one, but here in Australia, you can't breathe on a vehicle without having to get it inspected or whichever, or certified. The guideline stipulates with wheels and tyres you can go 1 inch wider, well, on the wheel, and 1 inch wider on the tyre, and a percentage taller, so you can go slightly taller, slightly wider. They're 35s, 12.5, there's no way they're legal. So in order to get this thing inspected to get registration, I have to put a more conservative tyre on it. Don't get me wrong, I'm still excited about the stockers, but that will pass rego, and it'll probably drive a little bit nicer too, so I can go and get a wheel alignment, make sure the steering is as happy as it can be, although it's 40 years old. But I do like that stock sort of look, that you know, old farm vehicle type of look. And as far as these rims go, obviously they're what's called a split rim, which a lot of modern shops won't touch them because they're deemed fairly dangerous. And I could see how, if that ring blew out as you're inflating them, it could be pretty nasty. That's a fairly large chunk of steel flying through the air. But I had a good friend of mine give me a bit of tuition on how to have a crack at them, so I did do them myself. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but as long as you stay on your game and you're watching, make sure that ring's in, and inflate them from the back. If you see here where I'm inflating them, I've got my hand through the hole, so if the ring did happen to come out, I'm not copping it in the teeth. Anyhow, safety talk over. I don't mind the look of them. We'll get them on. I might even chuck them on this afternoon. It's definitely beer time, but I might even chuck them on this afternoon, just as a little kicker. The reason I hurried through those couple of jobs and didn't film so much on them is I'm running out of time. I'm gonna go back to work tomorrow. That's for 5 days. So in the morning, although it'll be 5 days from now, we'll get stuck into that rust, get the wipers on, some other little odds and ends, and I think that's rego time. It's been a long day, but productive. All the interior's back in, painted, rims are done. I think I am going to give myself that little kicker and just chuck those rims on, just so for the next few days as I come home from work I can look at the cruiser in all of her glory. Yeah, let's do that. I've got to tell you, I don't hate it. I actually think they look kind of cool. Next job, we'll get stuck into that frame rust, so I'll see you in the morning. So this is first thing on today's agenda, so we'll chuck him in on the hoist and get started on that, I think. So I had a couple of days back at work to stew over the Landcruiser, and why I mean stew over it is that oil pressure issue. If you skip through, I'll bring you up to speed on what was going on. So if it sat for 5-7 days or more, the oil pressure was slow to build. You'd start it, it wouldn't build quick enough. The oil pressure, low oil pressure cutout switch would shut the engine off. Now we fixed that by a new pressure valve piston, I guess you call it, that little valve, little piston valve. But my head's still playing tricks with me, and I wouldn't mind putting on just an aftermarket gauge, like an actual gauge, so I can see, is it a little bit more responsive, is it a better reading with that. So I've got that's the oil pressure sender for the factory gauge. I've got that out of the block. I've got a T-piece, so I'm going to do that. So that'll go in the block. That'll keep my dash gauge still operational. I don't want to have a non-operational gauge because that would be substandard. Yeah, because we're perfect here. And then I'm going to chuck that guy in and just run some wires into a gauge, just, I don't know, zip tied somewhere for now, just so I can see the needle's obviously moving, factory gauge, but I just want to see exactly how many PSI at idle, how many PSI when it's hot. Yes, in other words, my head's playing tricks on me. But anyway, we'll just get that done, then we'll get into the rust that I've been saying for 2 days we're going to get into. Alright, so this first. So I get these guys laid out in the order they're going to go in, and just so I got the right spanner now, because once it's down in there, you can't even see, let alone try and find the correct size for the spanner. So I'm more or less doing this blind. It's just underneath everything and behind everything, so you're doing it by feel. So I'll start whipping this in. So my little fitting first. Next, the T-piece, and this is probably where I find out exactly how big a clearance issues we're getting. Once I get this little fella on. Actually, no, that's not going to be too bad. See, all that concern for nothing. It's not going to be that bad. Next, my factory gauge. Call it anally retentive, but I just want my dash gauge. I suppose I could have just put the other sender straight in the block is what I'm saying, but I still want my dash gauge to work. I don't know why, I just don't like the idea of a gauge in front of me not working. Even though you've got an oil pressure gauge now, like a proper gauge, not just a needle. So there's the head of my little T-piece. And now I've just got to put the other gauge out the end of that guy, and I'll just get the wiring for there, connect that fella up as well. So my little sender's in there, not that you can see him, but that little yellow fella down there. And I found a hole here. Can you see that one? It needs a grommet, so if I can find it from the inside, if I can see it, if it's not behind firewall insulation or something, I'll get a grommet for that. And just run a single wire through the firewall down to my sender, and that should be us. I couldn't have got much simpler. It's just behind the clutch pedal, so I'll get to that easy. I'll whack a grommet in it, run a wire out it. Thank you, Cruiser. I'm going to do a very sophisticated measuring technique by jamming my pinky in it and see. Just a cheap generic little grommet kit. I might have to use a blanking plug and just pop one little nick in it for the wire, because all those holes are really big and that grommet's too small. Righto. So I'll use one of them and I'll just jam a little hole in it with a razor blade, or a soldering iron works. Fluctuating, but it's, why is it fluctuating like that? That guy's holding steady. Oh, I reckon I got a fair insight into why that fluctuation. Yeah, because it's stopped now. Okay, so that would have air inside that sender. Maybe. I wonder if that little fluctuation is actually because it's got air inside that sender still giving an incorrect reading. It'll bleed out, I guess. But for now, I think that's just fine. Let's move on. So this is the one bit of rust that's stopping me from probably going and getting a rego check. First thing I probably do, knock off this bracket here, take that off, get that out of the way, maybe pull that back or bend that back for the time being so I can actually get to that. Then just start cutting it out. I'm not going to make a template or anything. I'm literally just going to start cutting it out. See the thickness of the steel. Then once I can get the thickness of the steel, we start putting something back in. It's that easy, I think. These bolts are too old and rusty to worry about trying to undo them, so I'm just going to just knock the heads off them. Just get them out of the way. Perfect. Now I just start cutting. I'll just take bare minimum out first, get an idea of the thickness and the gap, and then I guess I'll cut a template out of paper, cardboard or something, and just start going from there. I'll start with a bit of paper and then transfer it to cardboard. See how I go after that. This bit's going to be hard, how I've got to put a bit of a roll in there, but anyway, we'll figure it out. I went a bit rogue there and cut a bit much away, so I've added a bit back in tape. I just checked the thickness of the steel, but I checked it on the other side. I checked it on the good side, and it's about 3.5 mil. This is just 3 mil. Good enough for me, whatever. I'm going to transfer that straight onto steel. I'm not going to worry about cardboard, and we'll cut that fella out. So this might seem somewhat sketchy, but there's so much shape in this side. I think what I'm actually going to do is just start welding this side in and start coming down here as well. When I get to about there and it's nice and taut, I should be able to tap that round into that shape, because that's going to, I can bend a little bit of shape into it, but I'm not going to be able to get a perfect shape into it. But when you're hammering on it, you can probably bend that in a lot better. So that might be the go, is just start butting that up. I've got a tiny bit to take off that corner and that corner to close that gap up. And just start welding. About there, so that's a bit long. Now if you're worried that I didn't treat in the back there, don't worry, there's a gap there and there's a gap there. I'll get it when I'm done. So I'm just going to hammer on that and then maybe cut that corner off. For now, I might actually hammer on that bit. See what I mean? When it's taut, it's easy to shape. I've got to weld it down that side, and yeah, of course it's going to be hot. And it's still a little bit long, but that's alright, I can trim that off. But this is what I mean about it. It's easy to flex. I don't reckon there's any way I could have got all that shape in there sitting on the bench, so I can now weld that section in there. I'll tap that back that way, trim him off, maybe a little there. Maybe not exactly how the pros would do it. It's going to work though. So I'm not really worried about the 2 holes here. I don't miss them at all. I'm going to etch prime that, although I think I'm nearly out of pretty much every aerosol I have. I hope that dries a lot duller because that looks brand new. But then I'll get the old rust converter and just drown it down there once that's dry. Just to get the rust that's behind there, get that sorted. Hope that dulls off because that looks way too new. It's running out, so it's in there. Convert. I'll let that dry. I might have to go over that whole section with semi-gloss black. Oh, actually, that's where I haven't done. Where my earth strap was. Perfect. You never know. It might get the better of me and I might drill some holes in that later. But for now, as long as that paint dulls off, it's good enough for me. So I'm going to put this back together. That's the wrong way around. That's much better. I'm just going to bang it back together and that's good enough. It'll get us through Rego. There's probably just one more job in my head I was hoping would improve. That's not. Why I thought it improved is just use. And that's the brake pedal. Brake pedal's really firm. We are losing a tiny bit of fluid, but you'd think losing fluid, the brake pedal would be soft. So I'm starting to think we've got no vacuum assist or something like that. But the vacuum assist is different on these cruisers to Ford or Holden guys. It's not manifold vacuum. These have got a vacuum pump. I don't even know if you can hear me over that ratchet, but these have got a vacuum pump. It just doesn't feel like it's got any vacuum at all. It's got no assistance whatsoever. So I guess we've got to find out, number one, where's our little bit of fluid going? Because there's no notable leaks, so it's got to be in a drum, in a wheel cylinder or something like that. And why have we got no vacuum assist if that's what we don't have? Alright, we'll start with that. So like I said, we're going to start with the basics. Do we have fluid? Yes, we've got fluid. How do I know that? I topped it up, which means we are losing a little bit somewhere. It's bound to be in a rear wheel cylinder. I've checked around the master, I've checked around the front calipers, it's not there, but we've got fluid. Next thing I'm going to check is, do we have vacuum assist? Because a hard pedal would generally mean you've got no vacuum assist, and that's your vacuum line there. But it's not like your average Ford or Holden where it takes it from the intake manifold or something like that. It's actually got a pipe that runs along the firewall, across there, down there, out here, right to there. And that is a vacuum line going to the back of the alternator, which has a vacuum pump on the back of it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to fire it up, then I'll probably just pull that fitting, which won't be hard by the look of that, but I'll fire it up and pull that fitting and see if we've got any vacuum. Plenty of vacuum. All I've literally done is pull that, and then you can actually feel it sucking your thumb up against it. So we've got plenty of vacuum, so it's going to be in our drums or our calipers somewhere. So with him in the air, we'll see what... Well, that was free. A little bit noisy, but it's free. Yeah, there had to be one. Okay, so he's jammed on. So we'll probably start with the rear, clearly. But I might just get the other half to jump on the brake pedal and just see if these guys actually stop or whether we've got something seized. So we'll do that first. So I'll spin this wheel. Right, a foot on the brake. Is it on?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Alright, we'll try front. Foot on the brake. Yep. Foot on the brake. Yep. So we've got two shit back ones. That one's locked on and the other one's getting no fluid, so we'll start there. If we start with the locked one, we'll free it up and then we can figure out why we've got no fluid getting to that other side rear. I'd say it'll be the same on this side. We'll have no fluid. But that doesn't explain. Doesn't explain why it's not turning. So we're going to get this drum off. Someone's had a go at this, look at the damage. I think I found our fluid leak. That wasn't there. So we've just forced those brakes and I've just ruptured something over here. Look at this. Is it brake fluid? You'd have to say it is. Oh yeah, absolutely it is. I'm going to need a light to see where that's coming from, but hang on, I'll get a light. It's on the bottom of the leaf spring there, so where's it coming from? Up here. Ah, a broken line. Excellent. Oh well, we found our leak. We can make a small line, it's only from there to there, so we'll worry about that in a minute. That really went from not leaking, I couldn't find a leak, to that's just pumping out now. Anyway, let's get this one done first. So this probably isn't the way I expected the end of today to come, but I don't have an impact driver, so I'm gonna give it one really pathetic go with this after I heat it. So if I can't get this, I think we might have to make the other side brake line, because everything's probably shut by now. Oh no way, not even close. That's been burred like 100 times. I'll try a different screwdriver. Buckley's chance, I would imagine. Not a chance in hell. Impact driver it is. Righto, let's do that, the other side brake line. Difficult to get at it, but I've got to get some heat on it and got to get him cleaned up. And I'll try and get this one cleaned up as well. Nailed it. You know it's pretty warm when the brake fluid starts bubbling. Geez, they're a hell of a brake fitting. She's long. I hear you saying, it'll be hot, dickhead. Don't touch it. It's so easy, you just want to grab it with your fingers and just undo it. Come on. It is way too long, Toyota. Should see if I can get the drum off this one. This one doesn't actually look like it's been assaulted. Oh yes it does, worse. This one looks like it's been assaulted worse. What's the worst to get out and I drill them out? I don't want to drill them out. Still too hot. That is just, that's beyond belief how long that is. That's crazy. Oh, thank God for that. I better heat the other one. I just don't want to get that. Oh, that's only a breather. That's the rubber line I don't want to get. Come on. Oh, straight in me fluid. Am I worried about the other brake lines? No, I don't think I am, because look, that's been hit, clearly. It's got a big dent in it, so something's impacted that. I'm worried about this handbrake though. But no, I'm not worried about the other brake lines. I will check them. And that, oh geez, that's crazy hot. Yep, good one. I'm like a little, yeah, can't even say it. It's too soon, Michael, too soon. So I got my brake line kit, everything out, but wait. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? So that's my Landcruiser line, right? Look at that fitting. It's the same ridiculously long length. That one's slightly different. But it's equally stupidly long, just the head's different. Now what's that from? I can tell you, that's from a Toyota Hilux. What Toyota Hilux? That one. Remember? That's a Toyota Hilux chassis underneath that, and I did one brake line on that, and that was that one, and I didn't throw it out. Here. It's the only brake line I replaced. Everything else is factory Hilux. See? Same colour. That's definitely what that's out of. So I'm thinking I give that a straighten, a clean up, and see if I can make that reach. I just got to get some of these crazy bends out of it. I don't know why I didn't throw that out, maybe for those ends, but I think it's going to come in handy. I could just as easy make one, but this will probably be quicker. And it's from the same family. Righto, well that thread's the same, which I had no doubt. Like I said, it's from the same family, but I just wanted to check. Yep, and that one's good too. So I really want a 90 degree about there. Oh, this is going to be so professional. Where'd my 10mm go? Come on. Don't fail me in my moment of triumph. Oh. Okay, so if that isn't the worst thing you've ever seen done, ever, well, you know, but that is terrible, but it worked. In the age of recycle, reuse, repurpose, that Toyota Hilux brake line is perfect. Looks factory and everything. Nope, but it works. So I might even try and get in there now. Get an impact driver. Is it too late? Probably is. So do you reckon that one's been messed with at all? Do you think? Yeah, righto. Well, I changed my tune then. There's no impact driver on the planet gonna get that out, and there's no use me trying on that one. So I think I'll do the same on that one. I'm gonna drill that, weld a nut to it or a big bolt to it, and then try here with a socket. So let's do that. Oh, did you see that? That just moved. If that just moved, did it move? Was it my imagination? It's not even tight. Righto, so the butchering, all that for that, what I wasn't gonna do to that. So I would say all the butchering was getting it out, but they actually got it out. I can tell you the other one's tight though, so we might have to weld that one. So that's 2 wins for this afternoon. Got myself a free brake line, and that wasn't even tight. Now we've got to figure out how to get this drum off without destroying this backing plate. So heat everything up so you can barely touch the damn thing. That would be the first thing you do. This was clearly their leverage destruction point, so I'll just use the same, I guess. Come on, we're nearly there. Come on, 3 wins for the day. Oh, the dirt dropping out. Oh, come on. Thank God for that. Look at that. What's that doing? Goes in there. That's why that handbrake is doing all those funky things out there. Remember I said about that handbrake lever there didn't look like it was in the right spot? That's because that goes on there, just like that. And it's supposed to go in there, but it's not. So we need to knock that back this way, get it hooked into there, hook back into there. That's not our problem, clearly. I wouldn't mind doing that wheel cylinder while we've got it out, or got it open. But they could do with a damn cleanup. They're pretty shitty. So there's plenty going on in here where that's came off. But look at the thickness of that brake shoe. So they're buggered. The adjustments at absolute max. So I'd say the rest of today is knock that wheel cylinder out. I won't remove the shoes just yet because I want to have the shoes here ready to go back in so I can see what I'm doing. And then try and get that drum off one way or another. Even if I've got to drill that like I was going to, weld a nut to it and knock it off that way, I'll get it out one way or another. If we've got both wheel cylinders out, make sure we've got fluid at the cylinders and get ready for some shoes and those in the morning. Oh, I already got on the phone. I can get them overnight, so they'll be here about 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll just add these to the order, I think. Wheel cylinders are just 2 bolts at the back, 2 little 10 mils. I'll just knock that line off. I guess I screwed that line on not knowing what we're going to find in here, but the line works, so let's get this out. They were absolutely maxed out. Now for tonight, I'm just going to screw that back in. Just so it doesn't bleed all of my fluid out of my master. And as I go in the morning, I'll grab one off, zip in. And like I say, I'll leave them in place so that when I get the new sheet, actually I want to take one apart because I'd like to take some shoes in with me, make sure they're right. Anyway, let's get that other drum off. I'm actually wondering after the other one not being tight if I should be drilling a small hole and trying to hit it with an easy out. Let's do that first. This is what I mean by an easy out. It's you run a drill bit in and then that screws in anti-clockwise. So the further you screw it in, it's tapered, the tighter it gets. And hopefully as the tighter it gets, it starts to loosen what you're trying to remove. So what do you reckon I try? Maybe that guy. Give him a crack, eh? Maybe I should hit that with a bigger one first. Smooth that out. Lots of indecision. Lots and lots and lots of indecision. That was a good decision though. That's nice and smooth now, so hopefully I'll be able to get this drill bit into it. No, I'd say that's an absolute premium quality drill bit. Don't ask me why WD helps, but it does. Makes it cut better, like cutting fluid. You machinists will know the exact reason that is. It just does, alright? So now I'm going to get whatever spanner that is or socket fits that and screw her in. I'm sure there's a specific tool or something you're supposed to have, but I'm not going to have that tool, no doubt. I'm just going to, oh, I've got it already. How about that? Look, what's the head of it? Third win for today. One wasn't tight. Had a brake line. Got that one without butchering the arse out of it. Thing is, I still got to get the drum off. I didn't go in very straight. It's a bit wonky, but I got it. Good little tool. This is going to be hard. Before you go chasing up another one of them too, all I do is get a real thin grinding disc, run straight up through the guts of it like a big flathead screwdriver, and put it in with exactly that, a big flathead screwdriver. Like that's only to hold the drum on, but when you think about it, the wheel holds the drum on, the wheel nuts hold the drum on, so it's only a secondary thing. Neither one of them was very tight. It was just that one was so stripped I couldn't get out. Let's get this drum off. This one being frozen on there a bit could be fun. And yes, I'm being very sarcastic when I say it could be fun. Just go with the same process. Make sure that handbrake's not locked on, it'd be a good one. No, it's not. start. Put some leverage on it. If I bend up the edge of that, I'll straighten it after. I think that moved. The answer to that is no. No, it didn't move. Because I can still see the thread where that little fella come out of is right there. So it hasn't moved 1 inch. Alright, I'll just keep working away at it. That's all I can really do with this one. Okay, so this isn't going great. I'll show you what's going on. Okay, so we saw the handbrake came off of here. But the thing is, when you pull the handbrake on, that guy there is attached to this guy here. This guy goes up and works the adjuster. That's the adjuster. What's happened is because this guy's been disconnected, that one's been pulling a hell of a long way. The further that one pulled, this mechanism, the further that pulled, the further it adjusted this guy up. That's why that brake's locked on. That's why I can't get it off, because these shoes on that side are adjusted out so hard they're into the inside of that drum, and there's a little lip, because they're so worn, there's a little lip and I can't get it off. So the only way I can back these off is you generally just put a screwdriver through that gap and you flick the back of that and away you go, happy days. But it's so rusted that right now I have a chisel through that hole and I am just belting the Christ out of that to get it to turn. And I think it's starting to work, but I'm about 2 hours in. The hardest bit was actually figuring out the orientation, which way you had to go, because in theory it would tell me it's got to be a left-hand thread, because the mechanism's at the front there. And it works the same way. It's got to be a mirror image of over there, so it has to be left-hand thread. So I've got to get that down that way. I might have got it to move. So I've been bashing at it for a while. And I might have just got enough rust out of the way. Oh, not like that. So after about 40 minutes of absolutely assaulting this thing, I might actually have it. I might not too. I might be kidding myself. Oh, see that? The drum just moved. Yes, I'm getting it finally. Oh, thank Christ for that. That is my 4th win. Although that one was a struggle, that was my 4th win for today. Victorious. So you see that little spline or whatever you want to call it in there, that little adjuster. That's all I could get at. I couldn't get anything else to it, so I literally just got that chisel, angled it down like that, figured out which way I had to go, and just hit it down until it freed it up. Well, now I'm starting to be able to roll it, so if I can now just lever it down, I'll be able to get it. We'll get this bastard off. I've had enough of it. A lip in that drum is horrendous. There we go. Come on. Enough mucking around. Oh my God. Oh, and they're brand new shoes. That's probably why they were so sticky. That's had new shoes put in it. And it's just been constantly adjusted up with that handbrake. Son of a. Wheel cylinder out. And unfortunately that's probably it for the day. That took up way too much time. Wheel cylinder out. I'm not even going to check if that cylinder's any good. I've got the shits with it that bad. It's coming out. It doesn't look very new, so I don't feel too bad about getting the shits with it now. Well, I've got to tell you, I wanted to get to that clutch and at least bleed it today, but that threw a spanner in the works, so to speak, as my grandfather used to say. Literally, I think I hit every single finger with a sledgehammer at least once. But you know what? In your face, Landcruiser, I got it, so stick it in you. I wouldn't have thought you could just buy one side of brake shoes. I would have thought they'd come in a pair. Not like front to rear pair, left to right. 4 of them as a set, but they've done it. They've put one set on there. And I can try and over-analyse how that's all happened as much as you want, but the reality is that handbrake failing on that side is what's caused this to adjust up to lock this on. All of that. Like I said, in your face, Landcruiser. So my pink slip might go back one day. A pink slip is a rego inspection for everyone that's not in New South Wales, but my rego inspection might go back one day, because by the time I get them, by the time I bleed that clutch up, and I might not be able to bleed it up, it might need a slave cylinder if that's the case. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, that's done. I'll see you in the morning. So this morning I've got a couple of hours before those wheel cylinders turn up. I think about 10 or 11 o'clock is when their deliveries from overnight orders come in. So we're going to have a look at this clutch cylinder, whether it be the master or whether it be the slave, but it's definitely got fluid. I know that because I did check it, but we're going to see, or we're going to try to see if we can find a leak or at least just bleed him up. The pedal's got nothing to there, it's just off the floor. And it wasn't like that, so I don't think it's like a rod adjustment or anything. Something's not moving the way it should, or it's got air in it. So we'll give him a bleed and see if we can get it any better than that. So that there is our slave cylinder. I guess called slave because he's doing all the work down here. That's your clutch fork, and it's pushing that back. And right there on the side is our bleed nipple. Now I'm sort of thinking that dead spot at the front of the clutch pedal when you've got nothing and then it takes up. If I can just get some fresh fluid through that, might see if that dead spot goes away. If it does, that'll give us a bit more throw, a bit more engagement. And then if we have to, we'll look at some rod lengthening after that. So I'll just get a little bleeder onto that nipple, and I think that'll be a 10mm. Onto there, can't really see. Yeah, that's a 10mm, so I'll get me a little bleeder onto that, see if we can't put some fresh fluid through this. This will probably be hard to get on camera, but I just got, hang on, one of these things, right? One of these little fellas. It's got a magnet on it, so you can stick it to, I don't know, anything like that, and it'll just sit there as it falls off. Good one. No, it will. And then your hose go up and onto, just fit him over the end of that nipple like that. It's just so you can bleed it as a one-person job, and then crack him, and you can already see the fluid coming out. That's all I really want to do, is get some clean fluid through it, if that's got a bit of moisture from sitting and whatever. So we'll give him a couple of pumps. And it's not like brakes where you've got to pump it up and hold it down and all the rest of it. This is literally just flushing fluid through it. It's not going to build pressure because it's not going to push that rod where the fluid is escaping out here. So we're just going to get some fresh shit through it.
You got to make sure top up here, don't let that, you know, drain till it's empty. So I'll give it a couple of pumps, top this guy up with fresh fluid, and just keep doing it that way. I won't even need to push it with my foot, I can really just do it with my hand. I wonder if that carpet's holding it a bit too. No, it's pretty much on the floor. I just thought maybe it wasn't getting full throw. And see, there's where it's headed, into our little bleeder, and air can't get back in there because that's got a little ball valve in the top of that bleeder there. That was about 5, so I probably want to only go to about 4 this time. It feels better already, to be honest. Doesn't have that, oh, it's still a little bit of a dead spot at the start. As I say, there's a little ball valve in there that stops air getting back in, so just real quick dump that. So we've got room for some more fluid. You can see there it's starting to get cleaner already, but we'll go a couple more. I'll leave you down here for this one. I'll pump it, you watch that. Last one, that's 4. That's pretty clean. Righto, we might shut her off at that. So I'll just shut that off. Top camera work, Michael. Can't see a damn thing. Whatever. I'm doing my best. Do better, Michael. Do better. Alright, so there's that. Then of course, top hole made up. Whack his lid back on his head. And we'll see if we've got a little bit better pedal. Oh, my dead spot's not quite as long now. Oh, it's definitely harder. Right, I'm going to have to use my foot. My dead spot isn't as... yeah, it's throwing a bit further. I reckon we give that a little bit of a rod adjustment. We might be there for now anyway. So what I'm talking about with rod adjustment is that rod there. You see it's threaded, but I'd say she's all but as far as it'll go. I think there's about 2 turns in it, so I might just do exactly that. I'll see if I can crack that nut there. I've got to get my head under there and have a better look, but I think I've got a little bit of thread hanging out this end, so I can adjust just that little bit more out and just get that little bit of throw. Won't take much, because you think of the lever action, it might look like a bit down the bottom, but up the top there it's only going to be a turn or 2. Okay, so I backed off that nut there and I've turned that rod half a turn. It's not perfect, but I'm going to run out of rod if I keep going anymore, and if that rod comes out of that, that rod's going to drop down and you're going to have no clutch at all. So that's as far as I'm game to go. I think we're going to have a better clutch though. So I think that'll get us through Rego. That seems to be throwing that little bit further, and it was working before. It just felt like you had to really push it right to the floor. Anyway, we'll go for a drive. By the time I get to town, delivery time will be roughly then, so we'll get these cylinders. So I got me pads, got me wheel cylinders, so let's stop dicking about and get them in. This side's going to be pretty straightforward because I'm not going to bother changing those pads, they're brand new, but I'm just freeing up that fitting on the line, just spinning it nice and easy so you can feel when you start putting the new cylinder in, you can go in with your fingers first. That's right, go in with your fingers first. No, with the fitting there, make sure it threads into there nice and easy, because if you bolt that up and then try and put it in and cross thread it, so just so you can absolutely be sure you're not cross threading it. Cross threading a brake line, it's like there's no future in it. You'll self-loathe for days. Rename yourself a few times.
Alright, so we've got him started. 2 little bolts in the back. And then just tighten him all up. Make sure your little ends of your pads are in that groove and tighten him all up. Drum on, done. Exact torque spec, unknown. About that much. Good enough for me. Now, like I said before, I'm going to cut a groove down there, even if it's only to put a chisel in, and just bang it back in. It doesn't have to be tight. There's no load on it because the wheel's literally holding the drum on. So I'll cut that, and this side's done. Just cut that with the grinder so there's no prizes for guessing what that bolt is right now. That looks terrible putting it in with a chisel, but a big flat blade screwdriver will do a better job. I might actually have to get one, to be honest. Here's one I prepared earlier. Look at that, like I bought one. Then we're just going to bleed in with our little bleeder again, but I'll get into that side. I'll see you when I'm done that side, and we've bled brakes. So that's all back together, and I don't know if I can give you too many hints, tips, whatever you want to call it. That is a job that you feel like you need 6 sets of hands. One thing I suppose is you see me using clamps just to hold the pad in like that. That's so that you can get that retaining clip in, so you can hold the back of the pin. You just clamp it in there roughly where it's supposed to be and whack that guy in, and just with your grips, where is it? Hold that retainer, and as you push in, twist, and that way you lock those guys on. The one thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to bleed the brakes before. Just concentrate. There. I'm going to bleed the brakes before I bother putting this nut and the wheel back on, because those pads are brand new. You could have them like that, and so you'll put them on and you'll go, that's pretty tight, but juggle them round a bit. Go again. I reckon that one is down, I think. So I just knocked that one up a little bit. And there you go, that feels loose already, but all I did was tap that pad up. So bleeding them now with the drum on, so they can actually bleed out pressure. Then I'll take the drum back off, check for fitment, because that's slacked right off, remember. And if the drum comes on and off once they've centered themselves in the drum, that's when I'll adjust it up and get it so it's ever so slightly dragging. Like, that doesn't feel too bad now, but I bet you when I bleed it, that'll be slack as a butcher's you know what. Righto. So I got my little bleeder on again, and I've just got him attached to the bleed nipple back there. And one thing I guess I've always been told is always bleed the furthest away brake. Now we're only doing the rear, but the furthest away brake from your master, if you see the splitter is over there, so this is the longest line because it comes from the back to that side, then across to here. So this is our furthest away, or our longest line. Start with that one. Flick the lid off, make sure you've got plenty of fluid, because if you start bleeding and you bleed this dry, then you've got the whole system to contend with, master cylinder included. So keep an eye on this guy, make sure this has got enough to bleed. And so here's what we're trying to achieve. You sit the bottle a little bit above your brake, and I've give that a couple of pumps to actually fill the cylinder. You can see the air's sort of trying to bleed itself out already. So if I give that a couple more pumps, maybe fill that bottle, that should get all the air out of the cylinder and you're right to move on to the next side. These are just so you can do it by yourself if you need to. The old way of doing it, or the regular way you used to do it, is you get one person on the nipple, one person on the pedal. So you crack the nipple, push the pedal down, which forces the air out, shut it off, lift the pedal so it's not sucking air back in. Well, this doesn't allow air to go back in. It's got a one-way valve up here. So essentially it just forces all the air out and doesn't allow out air back in when you're letting your pedal up, so you can do it yourself. So I'll go and give that 3 or 4 pumps now, maybe fill him halfway, check that line for air again, and that should nearly do this. So the cruiser isn't giving up without a fight. I've got fluid there, right? This is the back of the drum, obviously, but I'm pumping away and nothing's coming out. So I've got fluid but no pressure. But see, this line over the diff here is above that wheel cylinder, so it could be gravity feeding into there, but I've got no pressure. So all I've done is go back further to the next joint, or the next union. I've cracked it off there, and I'm actually doing it back up now because I've cracked it off, and I jumped on the pedal a couple of times and I got fluid pretty much on every part of the floor I could. So now that I've got pressure there, it's only if there's a slight blockage or a bit of a restriction, it's in this line here. So I'll do this guy up, undo that line, and if I can't get anything through it, the best way to do it is a piece of MIG welding wire. Even if you've got to take the whole line, take it outside, bit of MIG welding wire and brake clean or something like that through it. Don't go forcing too big a piece of wire in case you damage the inside lining, or if it is a bit brittle, break it. But I suppose better to break it now than when you're driving. But anyway, I'll crack it there now and see if we can get some under pressure now. So now if I pump the brake, you just got to tell me if that starts to fill. I'll get on the pedal. Is anything happen there now? Is that pumping? Yeah, that's got it working. And yeah, I know, total dad joke. But yeah, I find them funny. I know that probably got a bit tedious as far as the fiddly little jobs on that, but let's face it, it's those little things like sloppy steering and going through some brake issues. That's the stuff that keeps your projects in the shed and not on the road. And on the subject of on the road, I did run out of time to get a pink slip. It is now about 10 to 5 on Friday afternoon, Australia Day long weekend. There was no way anyone was going to book me in for a pink slip anything after about 12 o'clock Friday, Australia Day weekend. So I got cheeky. When I went in and picked up those wheel cylinders, I got myself an unregistered vehicle permit. So let's go for a drive. Let's go for some brake testing. As I said, didn't quite get it registered. Coming up to Australia Day long weekend. Happy Australia Day, by the way. But I'm not sure if that's the end for the cruiser. I'm not sure if I'm done with him or not. Anyway, I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching. Oh, that went up my fucking duds, I think. It's burning my ass. I suppose because I got a small... Oh, fucking me. The fucking birds. Fuck those birds. Oh man, I just sat on my seam seal. Even the magpies are excited it's Australia Day. As I said, now you can just quieten down. Just trying to talk. My turn. I just stalled it like an absolute retard. Manuals, huh?